How are you today? Technical difficulties. What is it? Uncertain times? Yeah, all times are uncertain. So I had just erased the great big nugget that you wish you would have had if you didn't have the other lecture. And I've got a few things that I want to catch up on and talk about. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, again, I hope you all and your families are doing great, and that, really, I mean, come on. There can be exceptions, but have you had COVID-19? Has anybody in your family? Do you know of anybody, friends, relatives, neighbors? Do you know of anybody that's had COVID-19? Okay, if you have, which I would say by everybody I've been talking to, you don't know. But if you're part of the smaller group that has known somebody, the other question is, did they die? Now, there are obviously some that have. But my question to you is that most everybody doesn't know anybody that's had it and don't know anybody that's had it and died. So the important thing is what's really impacting us is this lingering shutdown. Now, I know that they have given, things like we're opening back up in stages, but that opening back up in stages is not to the degree that a business can function at any normal rate to, survive their overhead and everything that they need. There are many, many businesses that run very, very close. And if you have it fall under, you remember I don't know if you've ever been in business or have ever looked up these statistics, but what is it? Forgot. 90% of businesses fail in the first 2 years. 90%. And it doesn't matter what type of business it is. Generally, 90% of businesses fail in the first 2 years. So it's a very, very tricky thing. And then when you're talking about like what's very hard hit, like restaurants and so many other things, look at hotels. And there's a lot of those that run very, very close. I mean, they've got to have it. And they're stored up. I saw a thing that, it's the big M, with the golden arches. So we can't name the names, right? Not that I have anything to do with them for decades, but they were saying that they are giving away free food, free meals to the, now this part here is a very good thing, to the hospital staff, nurses, doctors, things like that. That's good. Reward them, give them accolades, all of that for the service that they do. They are some frontline people all the time, just like police officers are frontline people all the time. Fire departments frontline people. So we need to really reward them all the time. The other side is, the reality of what's happening behind the scenes? These type of huge businesses are stocked up with so much stuff, it's going to go bad, and they're going to be caught with having to find a way to dispose it or something. So another good thing would be to give it away. Isn't that great? You heard about the oil and how it dropped below that they'd have to pay you for a barrel than versus buying one. And they're still hurting. It's all the way down. My son does tech work and software work for a company that's oil company. And now his job is in question because of the long-time linger effects. As people, I noticed a lot more traffic. As people are going back to work and starting to gradually do things, there's a long delay there before things will normalize, and all of the supply that's stacked up. See, a big problem with the oil is they couldn't shut down the refineries. That's a whole nother thing. And they stacked up and they filled everything up to capacity, and that's what really crashed it down, is supply and demand. So you look at your food industry and all the other industries. Hotel industries are hurting bad, and what they can gear up to do. Why? A big part of that for hotels is phobia, the fear of people. Well, we can open now, not that they can do it today, but then the people are going to say, Bless you. But the people are going to say, well, I'm too scared. I'm going to wait longer. And that is going to continue to hurt these businesses, which is going to hurt our economy in this country and globally. And that impact is long lasting and can cause far more people to die, be desperate, out of work, all types of things. So let me give you some updates. Briefly, we are open, okay? We are open, and we have new hours. Testing. So the question is, well, here's the question. Do we need the finances? Yes. So what is the other consideration? Everybody else does also. So I want to keep that in mind. So I'm going to extend as I can, put it this way, until we go under. And my supply has always been counting on God. I don't count on advertisements, this, that, or the other. I always have. And I have my mind working towards what I have to do. But I know that my supply comes from my Creator. Because it's not also just a business, it's an organization that has tentacles internationally. So we're going to extend the discount. And we need help, change the subject, with information for peer-reviewed articles. If you've been seeing, I haven't put this in on HNU, but I've put it out on TKM Talk. And this is a wonderful, great opportunity with many things in mind. I'm just thinking currently with the app coming out, the book coming out, the website, online university coming out for TKM. Because the question I've gotten over the years is a lot of people, oh, I don't care about the empirical results. I don't care about how many empirical studies. I don't care about the results of my neighbor, my family member, or whatever. Do you have any peer-reviewed articles that you can refer me to? That's the mindset of a lot of people. So medical doctors have approached me, and that's what they want to do. And so they want over 100 of them. All of this is by their invitation. They see the value of TKM, and they see the value of peer-reviewed articles need to be done. So they even supplied a person that professionally writes up peer-reviewed articles to help me with them, because I don't know how to do that, okay? So they're making it as easy as possible. And we're looking for about 100 of them. That's what the doctor said, not me. I was thinking, a few of them would be great. They're wanting 100. They're unrelated. So there is plenty of room. Let me give you an example. The current one is on burns. And we have a great one there with statistics and different people that have taken it and logged it. So that's really, really great. The thing is once you submit an article for TKM for burns, you can't submit another one, TKM for burns. So anything else that is related to TKM helping burns, and there are tons of them. I've heard of so many over the years. Little ones, I know there's probably tons that I've never even heard of. But all of those, as many as we can, need to be included. You know, you read about an article, and you'll see the circumstances happens like this, and what they used, and if the other things, you use this, like TKM, and there's one procedure in TKM to do for burns, so it's not related to pulses, textures, or anything else. Simple, straightforward, very reproducible. Then you can talk about all the other ones so that they don't think, well, maybe that was just a one-time incident that we don't understand and it doesn't relate. No, you want to see that it's reproducible. You want as many cases. Thousands would be good. We're not going to get that. Not that many people are going to respond. So what we're going to do is we want your help and everybody else that you know of and can think of, and go around the neighborhood and contact people internationally, bang on doors, and see if you can incorporate them into the help. The help is, we want what your experience is with burn. You don't need to write an article. You don't need to write a full testimony. We only want very basic information, and then the person that's writing these can put it together in a way that is exactly like the format that they want it. Because I don't even want to do that, okay? So let's talk about this for a second. So all burn cases, experiences, testimonies have to be submitted together. The most simple aspect needed from people is this, the date of treatment. Okay, so if you don't know the exact date of treatment, estimate what the date of treatment is, or the date of the incident. So could be an incident and the date of treatment started another date. Each date of treatment that help was received. So each time you applied TKM. And all this could be as simple as one day, one incident happened that day, you applied it that day, you got the results that day. So we just need dates. We need the dates, the type of treatment, that's simple, the TKM and what the procedure was, observations before and after. What did you see, what did you experience, what was the feedback, and then the last one, what was the end results? That's not complicated. It's totally simple. So this can be all in very simple terms and summarized. You don't have to present it in any particular way. It can be bullet notes. Again, dates, type of treatment, that's TKM. Unless something else was also applied, then you want to mention that as well. And observation of what took place before the result. We have the first few already in mind. So what were those? Did I bring those? But you can also provide suggestions of what to do an article on. For example, some of the ones, so we're currently doing burns. I was thinking heart attack is next. Because the writer actually had an incident, I don't know, I've never heard of the person. But when I contacted her, that the doctor put us together, said, oh, I used TKM when I had Bell's palsy after I did everything that the doctor and everybody else said, and it was the TKM that resolved it, so I'm very, very excited. Well, what about acne? Well, I had one for acne. My neighbor has one with a bad gash in her knee, and it bled until TKM was applied, and the swelling and bruising was minimized. The healing was very rapid over 3 days. Or my friend had a headache and applied the median or the gallbladder sequence, and it resolved right away. What about, my cousin had a broken bone and TKM had it healed 50% faster. So see, there are many, many that apply to accomplishing this goal for the future of all involved in TKM. We live in very strange times, and I have something I want to propose to you that will help you in your thoughts and conversations aside from the articles or anything else, and wanting to share or your choices in TKM or something natural and all the different ways it applied that I hear of so many difficulties and heartaches and pressure and terrorism by people's loved ones because of their choices to do what they want for their health. So a question came in. Let me do this. I very much like the personal testimonies and the TKM applications. Thank you. Does an infrared sauna kill the virus? No, I don't have any information that an infrared sauna would kill the virus. The far infrared sauna does a deep penetration, deeper than the others, like mid and near infrared, to detox the body. So do diodes counteract the EMFs? I have not found one yet that will. Now, muscle testing, as I've said many times, can be easily manipulated, super easy. I've shown that demonstration in classes many, many times. Not only from the person, but from other people that are not even touching can manipulate the outcomes. Your own thoughts can manipulate the outcome. So you can't trust that because there's a lot of people that know that when you use a meter, which doesn't have an opinion, and it's consistent. You put a battery in it, you check the battery, it works right, and you test it with a meter, and that is scientific proof and evidence. So if it will affect a meter, then I'm interested. If it will not affect a meter, the only other thing that people ever come up with is muscle testing. And muscle testing can be a very good tool and very manipulative. So I don't trust that. So if it works for muscle testing and doesn't work for this, I count it as it doesn't work. And then I'll also show you how even people with meters have done that. Can I give you that? I think we did that on another lecture. Let's say this is a diode, or this is a diode, and this is a meter. So let's just do this. This is a diode. Now you're going to have to use some imagination. And we turn it on, and we take like a cell phone, and you take the reading and see what it is, and then you take the diode and put it between the phone, because the concept of a diode, you can put it anywhere. You can even put it on the other side, and it should protect this meter because of proximity. Well, you find that it won't. I've never found one that will. So what I do is I do the maximum. Let's put it in between. So the diode is in between the cell phone or electrical device and the meter. And we test. Sometimes people will see a little difference in the meter needle, and they'll say, see there, it does work. So what I've done is let's test to see if the test was good, because there's a difference. We had this proximity, and then we had this proximity because we put something in between. And it had some density. So what I'll do is typically take some paper, lay it down, and let's say this is really thin. And I'll just use this for example. Let's say it was a thin diode. And this thin diode was the thickness of this. Then I would just take some paper and put it in between and hold that phone there again, and boom, the paper improves it. What it is there's something in between that is changing how much EMFs is reaching the meter. It could be distance, and it could be any object in between, cardboard. So you have to test it correctly, and I find that all diodes that I have tested do not work. I am assuming that this question came up in relation to the test I did in one of the other lectures. I don't have that here now with me. The other one is, why does the TKM treatment work miracles one day and the next day nothing? Well, I would need to know what you're talking about. Let's see. And if so, where can I get them? Okay. Did a treatment on my husband, which has significant balance and walking projects. At the end of the treatment, he said, I feel great. Then proceeded to walk without balance issues and much faster than usual. We really believe we saw a miracle. Well, if it was TKM, then it was something that what I call seemingly miraculous. Because a miracle is something you can't explain that God does supernaturally. That's a miracle. Now, the next morning, we did the same treatment with no visible change. Well, are you saying that I have some missing information. Are you saying that he digressed to the same situation as he was before you applied the TKM the morning before, and that you didn't get a repeat of that? Or are you saying that he progressed to a certain degree and that lasted, and then the next morning you apply another treatment and it didn't improve a lot? Well, as quote, with no visible change, so it didn't improve with visible change from that point on? Maybe you need to do more. I need to understand more what it's about. TKM is a therapy when you're talking about sequences. It's a therapy. So you do the therapy till it's not needed. And sometimes you can do a treatment, and I have seen what seems like miraculous changes. I'm talking about bones moving, structure moving, spines lining up, legs twisting and going into place, not only after the session, during a session. I have seen rib cages change their shape. All kinds of things happen. But after it's happened, it's happened. I could wait an hour or two, not even the next day, and apply it. I'm not going to see more because that has already been taken place. It's already taken place. So whatever its timing takes, sometimes, typically, it takes multiple times. It takes therapeutic applications, and you see the up and down. So do you remember how in classes that we talk about how does TKM work? Now I'm going to have to make this brief. So we're going to take the blue as energy and the black as the body. You remember this. And people are going on through life not like that, but more like this. And then you apply TKM, and we can track it right here. When you start applying it, it gets better. And let's say you apply it for an hour, and you find that the blue one doesn't work, so you put it in the trash, and then you get another blue one, and it works even better for an hour. So you apply it for an hour, and you stop, and we know that it progresses for another 8 hours, and then levels off to the new program. Now, what does the body do? The body has so many factors that you can't predetermine. There is no way anyone can predetermine. We can talk about what happened historically, but you can't say what's going to happen. Now, the ones that seem like a miracle or seemingly miraculous are the very rare instances where something drastically changes right in line with it. Those are rare. Praise God for the rare ones. And then you have some that wait and wait and wait to do the therapy, do the therapy, do the therapy, and you see no visible change. At one moment, you're here, and boom, next moment, you don't have it. Seems miraculous, seems like a miracle, although it took many sessions to get there. But when it happened, one moment you have it, boom, next moment it's gone. Now, what happens with most of these, you can fill this in with black solid, and it takes every imaginable pattern. But I'll show you down here how it normally works. You normally have some improvement, you have a little decline, you have improvement that's higher than the other one, lasts longer, you have decline that is not as much, not as long, and then it just goes like this as it continues up. That is the average, typical therapeutic way of treating things with TKM. And then there's every other possible thing that happens. So what you do is you experience, you log it, and you learn, don't predict. You have your expectations, which should be up here, but you understand the process of what it takes. So without other information, that's as good as I can give you on that one. Before we go, I wanted to propose something to help people. One of the common things you get from people is how they respond. Let's say some different scenarios would be, you know, I was helped by TKM because, come on, are you going to recommend TKM to somebody if you don't know anything about it, if you don't know anybody that's been helped, or you haven't been helped? I doubt that. There are people that do, and that's fine. But usually it's from a personal experience, either personal to you or personally you saw and saw the difference. So you're recommending. It's like people that say, well, I had a knee injury and I went to the surgeon and he put in a knee replacement. And for them, their opinion was, and then I was better. What are they going to tell people? Well, I was suffering horribly and I went and had a knee replacement. And then there's people that will choose, well, I want to do TKM. I've checked out things and I've heard about it, ... and I choose to do TKM for my problem, my disease, my whatever it is, versus the other standard things or other things that are recommended. And then how people will give them such a hard time and ridicule them horribly. So let me propose something to change the subject slightly. Propose a scenario that might help many concerning TKM. Follow me with this. One of the most common issues people report to me over the years is the response of people when something like TKM is mentioned, especially when it is a choice of treatment for serious issues, sometimes critical. Many times, families and relatives are the worst at tormenting a person over their personal choice. They're not respecting their choice. But let me pose this. So let's pose a scenario. Let's say, and this is a made-up scenario, you are on a job or talking with a person at a store or restaurant, just somewhere, and a conversation starts up and health comes up in the conversation. And you say something like, you know, I also found that I had a rare and serious disease and the treatment was very expensive. I couldn't afford it. But my pain and my suffering kept going and increasing until I couldn't work and I felt like my life could be cut short. I was desperate. I reached out to a friend who started a fundraiser and actually raised a lot of money so that I could get the surgery recommended and the medication required, and I was completely healed within a couple of months after the surgery. I'm doing fine now. How would people respond to that? Right? Think about it. Do they feel threatened, insulted, indignant? Do they respond like you are nuts and you've lost your mind? That you've been scammed, or you made it up or imagined it? No, they would not. Would they typically be happy for you? Yes, they would typically be very happy for you. I am so glad, I'm so happy for you. I'll celebrate with you. I'm going to tell people about it. Even though they do not understand the surgery or the medication and either good effect or side effects, and do not ask about them either. They are happy for your recovery. That's the point. Now, this was about sharing your personal choice of action and your personal experience. Not telling them it is for everyone or the best or the only way, just sharing your experience. Take that approach when you are making that choice for yourself and people are combating you, usually families, loved ones, out of concern that you've lost your mind and you need to do what they think, even though they don't know about it. They want you to do what? Standardized medical practice. Well, what is a standardized medical practice? They don't know. Whatever the doctor says, just do it. Or that you're recommending something to someone. Don't tell them the other things that I said, the connotations. Share your experience. Leave it up to them and paint this scenario for them or a similar scenario so that you can hopefully change your perspective a little bit to see it more accurately with what? That you can rejoice for somebody for something that works, and that you can also allow some honoring of personal choice. Come on. I know we're losing our constitutional rights like a wild storm and everything else is going down the tubes, but let's not carry it too far and have everything crash at once. So I'm hoping that that helps to think about that and use it in some ways. So I've gone about 10 minutes over. I was about 10 minutes late, and I've got some more things to talk about with TKM. We'll get there. There is going to be a lecture this Friday at noon, but this on Tuesdays, this is the last lecture on Tuesdays. So the only lectures will be on Fridays at noon. And any other questions, emails that you have, please send them in. The thing is, you need to send those to tki@kinginstitute.org. So tki@kinginstitute.org is where you send your emails. God bless you. Have fun. Love one another. Be a good Samaritan. Think and pray positively. And I'll see you next Friday. Bye-bye.